So hi, this is the Drupal 8 Core Cross Initiatives meeting, June 2018. And we have, again, a few initiatives represented. I think we can start again with admin UI redesign with Christina, if you're fine with being the first again.
Hi, okay. From last week, changes that can be said we actually achieved something. It's nothing because we are still reviewing all the components that we created with the other designers. And we thought we would have them on Wednesday, but there were so many of them and we had to review them. So we'll have another call, and I hope by the end of this week or maybe first of the next one, we have all of them, or the most important one, finished. And we'll start this weekend preparing some issues for the 7 theme, the new 7 theme. And we are still working on the surveys with the DA, and there's going to be another survey this weekend in the Montreal Drupal Camp, maybe, or somewhere in Canada, and we are still finishing some things there. So that's mainly the part for the design thing.
So the survey is the user testing.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that's the first step for the user testing.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully we'll go in next week, the newsletter, but we still don't know for sure.
So is anything we can help with or direct people to help with? Or
no,
down to the designers working on the components?
Yeah, we're still working on that. And I guess once we have the components, we will finally be able to create all the issues in 7, and things will start to move on, but we're a little bit stuck with the components.
Mm-hmm. So you're like 2.5 weeks out of dev days. So
Yeah.
the plan was to be able to work on it at dev days.
Yeah, that's a goal. Actually, the goal is to have something already done by then, at least 1 or 2 components already done, so people have something to take a look at and use it as a reference.
Does that still feel like an achievable goal?
Sorry? Could you repeat?
Sorry. Does that still feel like an achievable goal, like to have all that stuff lined up by dev days?
Yes, because maybe we don't have, I don't know, 20, 30 components. Maybe we have 15 of them, but even we don't have all the components, we can start doing stuff like, I don't know, issues for the fields, issues for the buttons, issues for the selects. So these independent components can still move on, even we don't have everything ready.
Yep, that sounds great.
Yeah. And that's all for me.
Okay. So one thing I wanted to interject, I guess, is I'm gonna do a keynote at Dev Days on update on Drupal 8.6.
Okay.
I'm basically gonna be walking through all the initiatives and their status, and there's maybe gonna be a few things that have not been done by initiatives but are significant, but mostly it's gonna be the initiatives. So I will use the information I have from these calls and create the slides and the story, and we'll start pinging you in the next 2 weeks. Well, not start pinging you soon, and then to look at it the next 2 weeks in the interest of presenting you in the best light. So
okay.
If some of you are not available to help with that, that's fine. But I want to present all the initiatives in the best light possible and have the best information. And I'm obviously not involved with everything personally, so I will need some input. Cool. I think Angie wanted to look at what else is still due before 8.6, but I don't think we even have this on the admin UI on the roadmap for 8.6. So I don't think we have. I don't think we.
Yeah, I'll pull up that document for some of the other. Yeah, I think the normal call maybe too, and then at the end of the call, maybe I can do my thing.
Cool. So that's admin UI. Right. We don't have Wim or Matteo from API first again, unfortunately. So you can move on to JavaScript.
However,
yeah.
Email from one. How about someone else go, and then I'll give the update for API first.
Cool. Matt, ready with JavaScript?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll talk about 8.6 issues first. The two issues I mentioned last week having to do with like Ajax are still RTBC. One of them is the Ajax.js insert bug, which has been around for over 8 years. It would be really, really great to get that in. Still no feedback on JS messages. There's been some other work I've done around Layout Builder, which should make it work better. Let's see what else. On the admin UI side, we've been talking with sort of the API First team about how to better handle pagination and sort of like rendering full pagers, because we don't get counts, like total counts of any of the results that you're querying from JSON API. So it's difficult to build a full pager, and some other inconsistencies with the responses. Other than that, we've primarily been focusing on the sort of content listing screen. There's a lot done there, and I feel like it's pretty close, and then we can start working on the edit one. So. Gabor, do you want me to send you those issues that are? Do you have them, or I'll just put them in the chat?
Yeah, I asked Laurie, and he said that he RTBC'd them. So
yeah,
it's kind of hard to get a front-end core committer on it because we don't have any more front-end core committers.
Yep. Or, I mean, people are still scared of JavaScript, so.
I was like, it's JavaScript.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I think that's it for me right now.
Okay.
Okay. API First. I have a big update from them. Pasted it in here. It probably needs some touch-ups, but so on their roadmap, JSON API was a thing they wanted to get done. Wim says it's going to be a close call. There's a lot of progress on it in terms of making it core worthy, but it's not quite there yet. We did nail the file upload support issue, so that's great. Full config entity support, it sounds like there's buy-in for that, but we're lacking people to make it happen. A couple of blockers landed, but that's about it on that one, so that's probably going to carry over into 8.7. Validation improvements, no movement at all. They're kind of praying and wishing the entity and field API maintainers tackle that, but it doesn't seem like they are, like that's on their radar. So this, I guess, would be an example of a cross-initiative kind of thing, because that seems like that would also benefit the configuration system and stuff too. Exposing the remaining data, they basically landed term parents, which is great. Others are in progress. They've been mostly focusing on JSON API, so there's not a lot of people doing focusing on the REST system. And then another made some good progress on, or kind of the API first ecosystem and stuff like that. So essentially, we prioritize JSON API in Q1 and Q2. Little progress in other areas as a result. There's a lot of dependencies in other systems like entity field type data, etc. And we have 2 paid contributors, but they're both on JSON API, which means that nobody's really working on those other things. So yeah, lots of contributors to JSON API, which is great. Full configuration entity support number 1 for 8.7. That seems logical. Yep. So the update is there. So I will reformat this into the format in the doc, but just so people know, because I haven't been on a call yet where API first has been represented. So here's an update on API first. So he would love more contributors to subsystems in API first and support from the entity field API maintainers, I guess. Ta-da!
All right. Alphabetically, CMI2 is next. Do you have a bunch of people to work on stuff?
On CMI, no. Well, there's a lot of interest. We got the initiative started a couple of weeks ago, and we managed to kind of prioritize the areas that we want to focus on, and it seems like we're going to get a relatively early win with the installing aside from configuration, which is an issue that has been in the works for already years, but I think it's fairly close. Catch reviewed it recently, and so I think there we can get it in soon, I hope. But then there's a few follow-ups that should also go, in my opinion, into the same release, because the issue that is getting the plumbing in is for a very special use case of a site that also its profile is the site, sort of, which is a new concept, but it would be fairly easy to make it also work for distributions or certain kind of distributions that are ready for this kind of workflow. So like that's one of the next things, and then we will meet in the dev days, and we will try to figure out some solutions for the other problems, because they're quite complicated. And one of the things we decided was to have a more opinionated approach, so that we can streamline the documentation and make sure that everybody uses the CMI in more or less the same way, and not like 1,000 ways of doing things, and then everybody does it different, and then like it doesn't work.
Makes sense. So any challenges that you need help with, or that we can point people to or help directly? Or
I think more people that would be, or that have like some sort of vested interest in making configuration management workflows work better, especially people that work with distributions, because I think the site use case, we just need more documentation and more streamlined documentation. But the other use case core isn't currently not catering to at all. and there's many ways of doing things, and we need to like find some sort of consensus and then implement it.
Okay. Is the profile issues allow profile to be installed from existing config?
Yeah, so there's two issues on the Drupal.org. One is the more generic one, and one is one profile to be installed. So they link to each other. I can find them on.
Yeah, because this one has been RTPC for 4 days, I think.
Yeah, there's one that's RTPC and one that's postponed. So the one that is RTPC.
Yeah, the allow site to be installed from existing config. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And I hope that one can get committed soon. And then for that one, we then need to follow up, in my opinion, because this does not work with distributions. And if we start documenting, hey, this is the cool way of doing things, then it will feel like distributions are a bit left behind.
Yeah.
And that should not be the thing. And it's also relatively simple for the like it will not work for all the distributions, because right now the install hooks, they can do all sorts of things, depending on because right now the site is installed in only one way. But if we install from existing configuration, all the things work a little bit differently, so the hook cannot do the same things as it did before. So we have to have a smaller API that we can commit to, and that's why the other one is postponed. Like there was an issue that was related to that, which allows these profiles to have real dependencies. So you cannot uninstall a real dependency of a profile, but there is still profiles that don't use the real dependency, and then like standard.
Okay.
Although that one is now better, but the install hook still expects the non-dependencies to be installed, for example.
Yeah, so I think what you can do is to retitle this RTPC issue to better explain that this is for a specific site install and not for a distro. That would help a lot, especially when it's committed, because people will be like, oh, allow a profile to be installed from existing config. It sounds very much like a distro thing.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a bit, yeah, maybe that's a good idea.
Let's retitle that just to make sure. Cool. Yeah, I think I catch an Alex spot are deep in here, so this seems to be working. I will try to help with promotion of this. You've had your meeting yesterday, and then it's every 2 weeks, I think. So I will.
Yeah, exactly. There will be one more meeting before the Dev Days, and then we will meet. I will unfortunately not be there all the time during the Dev Days, but I think when I'm not there, Alex Spot will be there.
Cool. Yay, thank you.
No problem.
We have layouts as the next item. Tim actually said yes to this meeting this week, so I was fully expecting him, Tim Plunkett, to be here, but he's not. So I guess he's busy with something else. So we'll see if we can once again find somebody else for layouts, which is the same node from last week, but I didn't try hard there because the Tim Plunkett said yes. So so this week nobody there. Media, I don't think we have anyone from media now. Based on my following of the issues, the challenges and the problems are still pretty much the same. Some design details are still being discussed for the library, as far as I've seen. So that deadlock may not have been entirely unblocked. Yeah. So not much of a news there. I haven't seen the media meeting happen this week either. Yeah, it didn't happen. So migrate.
Hey, this is Lucas. I'm going to paste 2 issues that are in RTBC. That I'd like movement on. So first one is one that's been sort of sitting there. Catch did comment in the last week, but I still think we need maybe Alex to re-review it and provide any further feedback before commit. Which is altered derived migration definitions early in life. Besides that, we also have add support to migrate multilingual revisions, which is blocking some other multilingual migration work. That one's more entity API than truly multilingual related. So those both need to see some landing. We've got 2 others that are in needs review. That would be nice to get reviews. The first one is blocking Drush from being able to bring migrate commands into Drush core. The second one of these, so I guess it's the 4th one now, is migrate source CSV into core. It is a moving of a contrib module into core. So it's a 50K patch. No one wants to touch it, except for Adam, who's pulled in about 100 different directions. So we need someone, preferably not Adam, to review and RTBC that. So that's good. We had, just before this meeting, a meeting on migrate. And we are pursuing 2 directions for multilingual. We've got an experimental module in the wings that's back to needs work on some findings from the committers. But they're fairly trivial to pick up. We're also in the same time, in the same breath, working on trying to get the last blockers for multilingual. And we're super close on several fronts, but we're probably not close enough. So first link is the experimental module. Next few links are going to be more about the blockers. We're primarily focused on entity translation, which allowed field level translations in Drupal 6 and 7. So we did have a success. I guess I should probably trumpet our successes. I will link that here in a second.
Yeah, term translations landed.
Yeah, the entity translations, which was the settings. Do I want it or do I not? That landed with great rejoicing. And now we're actually working on the data, which was the one just previous to the one I just pasted. So those are probably the 2 biggest monster patches. We still have 3 or 4 more, all related back to a meta, which I will get the link to the meta here shortly. Where is that? I'll get it in here in a minute. We did triage the queue in the last 2 weeks, and we kind of have it down to probably about one hand, 4, 5, maybe 3 issues that need to land before we can say multilingual, I18N, entity translation, and then by virtue of that, all of migrate Drupal. So here's the meta. I'm going to bump that to a major. Didn't realize it was not a major.
So in short, some multilingual issues are going well, but in this case, they would not be ready in time. There's an issue to move them to an experimental module. So
Correct.
Rest stable. So either way, migrate is on a path to be stable. Migrate Drupal and migrate Drupal UI.
Ways people can help. Probably the migrate source CSV was also labeled as out of the box, a blocker for them. So if out of the box wants to see action there, they might jump in and do a 50K patch review.
Did they look at the possibility that are you getting feedback from them?
I think there was a comment at one point asking if we should do an htaccess file.
Mm-hmm.
We opened up a follow-up for that.
Yeah.
But no RTBC out of it.
Yeah.
My update.
Cool. Great. I will ping the out-of-the-box folks for the CSV support because they're going to be the consumers. So
I'm seeing in the notes we had at I18N blockers. I think we should say multilingual blockers. I know that's a nit, but that's the update.
Yay. So out of the box, we don't have anyone from out of the box, but and for some reason my Slack is not loading, but Keith J left us some notes, and so I also attended the out of box meeting this week, and they landed IE11 support today. So finally works in IE11 as well as any other browser. And the next major thing the team is looking at is, I guess, decoupling the designs from the hard-coded theme variables to support managed display settings. And that's also preparation for supporting layouts. So to be able to theme the individual fields and be able to reuse them in layouts in the future instead of hard-coding them in the theme. And that requires possibly some design changes to accommodate that. And that's being looked at right now. So that would make the theme more of a best practice demonstration of how you should do Drupal stuff as a flexible, side builder friendly solution instead of hard-coding them in the theme, which is a faster way, but not so nice. So that's the update from there. And as soon as I can get this Slack screen, I will be able to paste the update to here and also ping them about CSV support. But out of the box, PHP unit, we don't have anyone. The workflow, we have Andre and Tim. Hi.
Hey, folks. So we had some good progress lately on the blockers for having workspaces as beta. First one would be the full workspace UI issue, where we decided to split a bit of scope into a separate issue, which is now an off-canvas territory, the one about wrapping the site in a border when you open the top of canvas dialog. So for that, we'll need, again, some help from the off-canvas maintainers with the CSS implementation and all that. And also, we had a UX meeting 2 days ago, where I think we agreed upon a good path forward for how to disallow people to make changes that would leak into the live workspace. So for example, when you edit a config entity in a stage workspace, let's say, we need to provide a very strong visual indication that you cannot edit that specific item in the stage workspace and you need to switch to the live one. I think I didn't manage to put all the discussion there in the issue, but I will do that at some point. If Roy doesn't do it first. And also the other important thing about converting taxonomy terms to revisionable and menu links, again, good progress there. The taxonomy term one is needs a small update on the patch, and it should be pretty much ready. As for menu links, it's we need to basically take everything that we did for taxonomy terms and apply it to menu links. That one also is pretty close. And yeah, that's the recent progress from the workflow initiative.
Anything other than, so do you have so you mentioned that you need the off-canvas people front-end reviews on the issues that you split off. Are you already getting that, or?
Not yet. This is the first time I mentioned that we need that help.
Can you pass over the link so we can?
Yes, let me find it.
Try to helping the right people.
Just a minute. I have the issue open. This is the one, 2976385. So the workspace UI patch is got a bit easier without this, and we still need to figure out a good mobile implementation for the CSS. But other than that, it should be close as well.
All right, I will try to bring this to some people.
Yeah, I think this should be, I guess, Ted Bauman. It's more front end than JavaScript, so
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And I think that's it for workflow initiative.
And we reviewed this on the UX call as well in terms of how it makes sense to structure the API and stuff like that. Yeah. All right, I think that's the last one I have on the list. Unless I was missing any initiatives. So, Angie, you want to look at the check against the roadmap?
Yeah, that's okay. Paste the link to this again. Maybe get me screen or something. Hello, in I don't even know when, March or April or something. Where I went around and asked all the things could get into 8.6 and what they should target for 8.7. And now that we are, within about a month of 8.6, we set this list for the people on this call to see how we are feeling about this currently. So that support for multilingual sites, we would want to target 8.7 for that, or we think that that's still possible in 8.6.
So Lucas left, but we just had a meeting an hour earlier. I was there. So there's several issues that are getting very close. So it's entirely possible that we will be able to get there, but it's not sure. Like there's still a month left. But it's not sure.
The next possible.
The next one about stabilizing, so that basically has two ways. So we either move out all the multilingual ones to an experimental module, and then this is stable because everything else is stable already.
Yep.
Or multilingual gets stable, in which case, same thing. The migrate Drupal UI module is already stable by itself. It's only not stable because of its dependency on migrate Drupal. So once migrate Drupal is stable, then migrate Drupal UI will be stable. It's
Yep.
just because of its dependency. The migrate system docs, I have no idea if there was any progress on that or not. Certainly not regularly looking at that migrate meetings.
Okay. CSV.
I haven't been committing. Yeah, CSV support is, as Lucas said, is the patch is there. Nobody dares to look at it because it's a country module moving to core, which has all kinds of potential problems. I pinged it now to the out-of-the-box team, but they're not going to be able to provide architectural feedback, obviously. They may be able to provide feedback in terms of is this an API we can use for out-of-the-box? But I don't think they have a pressing need right now either, because if it's committed now, they would still need to rewrite their import code for content, and they have more important problems right now than switching APIs for importing content.
Well, the rest of the stuff is 8.7 plus, so
yeah. And the rest is 8.7, 9.
Media. API first. What it sounded like is this is possible, but what I read out of so I'll make that a gold or more of an orange. It sounds like that's not probably going to make it. This one's done, which is great. Full config entity support, that's going to be postponed to 8.7. But then it sounded like it was postponed to 8.7, but it was also the most important thing on the list for 8.7. So hopefully that.
Yeah, there's some underlying stuff that got committed recently to support that, but the major body of the work is not done.
Yep.
But this config
valid
exposed through the regular entity API for validation, stuff like that. That landed recently.
Yep. That one sounds like it's both postponed to 8.7 and also needs someone to work on it. So that's kind of a double whammy there. This was a target 8.7 anyway, but they are making progress on that, which is great. So we didn't have any updates. Workflow. So it was getting content staging in as an experimental feature. It sounded like we're doing well on that. That's a big step.
Yeah,
I still feel like it's possible this thing to beta by 8.6's code freeze.
Yes.
For the month.
Yes.
Yeah, looks like it. Yeah.
Likely. I love how we can't say anything. This is the same thing, I think. But not.
Yes, that is the same thing.
And more visible entities. It sounds like progress. Is that what I heard?
Yes, it's also, you can put likely.
There's other stuff around that though that are not like, I want to say this had like 12 sub-issues or something.
Yeah, the last ones are to actually convert stuff. Yeah, also a bit of, other issues, but the main purpose of this phase was to convert more entities to be revisionable.
Gotcha. Okay.
What we will definitely postpone to 8.7 is the parent revision support, because we have to focus on getting workspace better.
That is totally fair. Getting things done is great. So, cool. And then the rest of this stuff was all 8.7 stuff anyway.
Mhm.
Out of the box, sounded like layout support. Wow, what in the world is all this? Support.
Not there, no.
No.
Layouts themselves are experimental, right? And in the works. So it's a moving target.
Yep. So we're gonna call that not likely. Media support.
Same thing, right? Because we don't have media is also heavily moving targets still.
Yep. Migrate CSV also not likely.
It could be so Umami is experimental, so they could start using that in a point and release later if it's in migrate by 8.6.
Yeah, but I didn't hear any indicators that that was on target for 8.6.
No.
Okay. So what did we say about that? We said unlikely, yeah.
Unlikely.
Same.
So for the
dependency unlikely, yeah, it makes that one unlikely as well.
Yeah.
Okay. How about
showing them to
make
evaluate?
Umami the deep? Yeah.
Oh, there's the first one is presenting.
That seems. Yeah. Okay. 2 evaluators. That sounds like that's likely or done, maybe.
Yeah, so right now there's all the beta blockers are committed. So according to the issue list, we don't have anything other than this very open-ended question of what it still needs to be done. There's an issue that's basically let's define what else needs to be done, but we haven't defined anything else. So all the things we defined that needs to be done are done.
Yeah, and then making it the default evaluators experience and the idea of evaluators. So, question mark. It sort of blocked on the same thing, which is getting clarity on what the heck is required.
What does that mean? I don't know. Because if it's about hiding it, then it's the same thing as the previous one. That's an issue that you have here. It's the same as the previous one.
Yeah.
In that case.
Okay. Yeah. So out of the box, it sounds like we're aiming for
a more stable thing.
Presenting him
shown to users, yeah, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Which is great. Like that was the main thing to do.
Yeah.
And
the other things are dependent.
Yeah.
Out of the box media layouts and CSV, neither of them are done. They're all moving targets still. So it's hard to to demonstrate them when they're moving targets.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we almost need like a phase of the release that's like, okay, all the features are in now. So now this gives like umami and stuff a chance to catch up.
I think for the demo team, they discussed that the benefit for them to be experimental in perpetuity is they can catch up with, they can demonstrate features in like 8.6.1 or something or 2.
Yeah, actually, that's true.
They have
That's
time
true,
to work on demonstrating them a bit later.
Yep, fair enough. JavaScript modernization. Design a modern redesigned MN theme for Drupal. That's definitely heavily in progress. I think we have not coupled that to 8.6's release cycle necessarily, although kind of, because we want to get something by dev days, which is more or less 8.6. So I'm going to call this on track. Christina, are you still on the call? And if so, does that sound good?
I'm here. So I guess we won't have something that we can call stable by September, almost for sure. Yeah. But at least something to start working on dev days for sure. I'm not sure how many components we are going to have there, but yeah, exactly that.
Yep.
But, yeah, we
like,
have work.
I make it yellow. On track, but postponed to 8.7 because it's just a lot more work than we were thinking it would be. Single page React application, that's kind of not what we're planning anymore. So this kind of needs to be revamped, where it's now more about the content authoring experience and such. I think, I don't know, I mean, I guess it doesn't matter. This isn't for 8.6 anyway, so maybe we'll just skip it and we'll talk about it later. React define permissions for 8.6, but we're not going to do that anymore, so nope. I don't know. Nope. And removing architectural blockers to decouple builds, that's basically the API first thing. So there's not really anything to say next, because there was some stuff done, some stuff not done. Okay. Automated test suite, though, I feel like we did finish that. Or if we didn't finish it, it's pretty dang close. Again, if anyone on the call knows something about this that I don't, please let me know. I feel like that's still in progress, the coding standard stuff. Okay, automatic updates. We didn't have any specific goals for 8.6. The Composer initiative is actually kind of thing stuff around. Hopefully that will materialize soon. They posted a big ass plan to their idea, which is interesting. I added some more files to core, and then we can publish the tarball from Composer and do stuff that way. So then, like, non-Composer users and Composer users starting point, which is kind of really interesting. Because like ideas, or the like the people who know the most about everything, and then don't pass that on to others. But anyway, if people are interested, they just updated the issue summary here with all the composery things, and there's some conversation towards the end here as well. So but yeah, that's exciting to see progress on that. Okay.
Did they set up a meeting or something for the initiative? You know.
Sorry, Gabor, could you repeat?
Did they set up a meeting or some way that they're organizing the initiative, or it's on the queue?
I haven't gotten that far yet. Talk to them about that. They have a channel which is Pound Composer, but I don't know about a regular meeting schedule.
Okay.
I don't have initiative leads though, which is nice. Boyan Z and Mixologic are kind of the co-owners of that initiative, and there's a bunch of other people like Webflow's involved, Mile 23 involved. So proposal is kind of a joint effort of a bunch of different people. So good stuff. But I don't need a meeting as much as working asynchronous element. But okay, I'm gonna stop sharing. Thanks, folks, for that. It sounds like we need an update from media and layout to find out where they're at with their stuff.
Especially layout, we haven't heard in a very long time. So it's kind of hard to know if we can help in a way or.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, well, that's all I had. Thanks for indulging that. It's always nice to revisit things that made sense 3 months ago and see if they still make sense. I still struggle with the challenge of how to get better at predicting what things will happen, because it seems like every time we do one of these reviews, we end up like at least 60% of what we thought we could do, we in fact can't do within a time frame. So I think there's a lot that plays into that. I think it's like, you know, general velocity stuff that we could do better. Whether that's bringing on more core committers or whether that's, you know, I don't know, more follow up from blockers specifically or what it is. And then I think, you know, also it's like we at the beginning of a release and everything is shiny and new and wow, we can do everything. And then like as things plod along, it's like not. So maybe we just have to temper our enthusiasm a little bit. I don't know. What did you say, Gabor? I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of complex stuff sitting in the queue for JavaScript for migrate. That could so there's a lot of complex things that are sitting for much longer that could improve velocity. But generally, I think like 3 initiatives mentioned that this would be nice to have somebody from the entity API to help. It's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I wonder how to manifest that. If that's like, should we organize a sprint around that or something? Or like, you know, because it doesn't feel like organically waiting for Amatisku or Beardeer or whoever to like magically have time to work on things that are not in their immediate work priorities does not seem like it's working. So, you know, I don't know what the best way to approach that is, but I've definitely heard that as a blocker, even going back to like DrupalCon, where was that? Maryland or something? It was like back when we first started the idea of these meetings. We had that retrospective and Entity API came up as a blocker even back then. So this is not a new problem.
So on my part, anyone can feel free to ping me with specific issues. I mean, I do this all the time. I review and work on entity API issues which do not necessarily impact the workspace module or but a lot of entity API issues does impact the workflow initiative in general. So yeah, feel free to
So it's
ping me anytime.
Yep, okay. That's really great to hear.
Lately, I've been more in the storage layer of the entity API, but I can review other stuff as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Andre.
Yeah, I'm gonna add Alex, Pat, and Fabian as recurring this recurring invite for the meeting. It's not gonna happen every week. It's probably not gonna happen next week because at least Angie and myself, and basically, yeah. So all the Acquians on the call will be tied up in some other thing. I haven't yet checked the calendar if we have any chance to do this next week, but I'm not sure with you. So it's probably next one could only be the week after, but we don't need to have this every week. Once again, we've been trying to do this the last few weeks because we've had only a few initiatives each. So maybe we need to find a better recurring time than then some weeks maybe every week or not. That's too uncertain.
Yeah, is there some sort of calendar somewhere where it's written when these meetings are?
Yeah, so there's a standing meeting every week, but we don't really have it every week at the same time because it doesn't make sense that we don't want to take up an hour of everyone every week, and also it's sometimes just happening too often, and also it conflicts with a bunch of other events, and sometimes core commuter meetings are at the same time once a month. So there's a bunch of other things that conflict, and this doesn't make sense to hold you up all for an hour.
Yeah, but usually they're around 5 o'clock Central European time.
It is the same time, same day every week is a standing meeting, and then we cancel it at the start of the week when there's some conflict.
Okay.
Doesn't make sense. And I'm gonna add you and Alex Spot and Ryan and Buoyancy. So
yeah. Apropos the minutes that you were taking before, there's these two issues at the moment, but yesterday we were discussing that we will open a couple of other issues sort of in between, so that we can solve, we can let sites be installed from configuration, even if they're not like this narrow use case, but without having like touching the UI and like completely like doing the whole thing, like the config installer in core, like in between. So for example, my idea was that if you set the config sync directory in your settings.php and it's all good, then it installs from there, for example. But so it will be like a follow-up in between, but I haven't gotten around to create the issue for that yet.
Cool.
We discussed it yesterday.
A great compromise. Cool. All right. So we are at the end of the hour anyway. So we'll let everyone to work. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks for the meeting.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.